This conference will now be
Okay,
recorded.
sure. Basically, like any ERP, like if you call about, basically they want to keep the kind of a business solutions which will be suit or which need to adapt their business and need to give the full-fledged or end-to-end solution to their business processes. Okay, so this is one of the ERP which is like giving end-to-end the business solutions. So then how the business process. So for example, like first we need to understand what is a business process. Then how the SAP given their own product which can be suit their business. Okay, so that way like our discussion going to start over here. So first like we try to understand like a simple process like how the procurement happens here. Okay, so in any organizations or any plan, for example, let's take about the organization called as Apple. Okay, so Apple is one of the manufacturing unit. Okay, so which basically they manufacturing the different varieties of the products. They are into the Apple mobiles and laptops and some other gadgets like headphones, and they also into the display screens. Their kind of the business is there. Okay, and also they are in the different kinds of the design of the LEDs. Okay, so these are their major major the business. For example, if you consider only the vertical about the mobiles. Okay, so to manufacturing the one mobile. Okay, so what the basically need, they need different kinds of the material, and that material they need to procure from the different source of suppliers. Okay, and when they are into the negotiations to procure the particular material or product, what they will do, they don't blindly go and purchase this particular material from the supplier. Okay, so what they will do, basically they will understand the uh, kind of a market strategy and the quality of the material, and where they can purchase like procure the material with the good quality and less price, and kind of the strategical thinking they'll implement in kind of procurements. Then they will give the quotations to the different guys like I want so and so materials, so much of tons I required, and so I want need the quotations, how best you can give the quotations to me for my one of the manufacturing unit which is placed in somewhere in India. Okay, so then what they will ask, then they will take the different kinds of the quotations from the vendor, and they will finalize one of the quotations and they will give a order. Once they will get the order, what they will used to do is based on the like a given order to the supplier, and supplier will send the material to us, and which they will receive the material in the plant locations, okay, where we do the manufacturing setup. So those places they will try to take that material and they will do some quality checks. Once everything is passed, they will allow to their inventory. Okay, and based on that, like again the finance team will be coming to the picture. Based on the agreements from the supplier, they will take the 90 days or 180 days or 360 days of a delay of payments. They will do the payments. Okay, so this entire process talks about how you procure this material. So that is called as a procurement to pay cycles. Okay, so here, so this what I told is a simple procurement cycle. Okay, in some of the organizations, how it will be happen. For example, I got okay order from so and so person or organizations. They are requiring around 100 Apple 12 series. Okay, so to manufacturing that, so there is a requirement is generated like initially people will raise a request, or they'll give a request in the form of sales order. Okay, so then what happened? So then system immediately go and check the stock to manufacturing one mobile. What are the different materials is required? How much the quantity is required to maintain that one? Then what happened once they check the stock of the internal material, internal inventories, so then automatically the requirements are generated. Here, the requirements are generated in the two ways. So one thing is when you run the MRP, which is called as a material requirement planning. Okay, so that is happen in the backend. So either it can be run through the MRP, which is like a process of production and planning. Okay, so once you give a requirement, system will go and check the stock availability. If the stock is less than what we ordered or the threshold limit, so automatically which will generate the requirements. So requirements is nothing but a purchase request to the purchasing department. Okay, so this requests we are able to create in the two ways. Like one is manual requisitions we can do it, or another one is automatically from the MRP process. Okay, so once I know the requirement and once the purchasing department will get the request, so and so material they required, then what they do is they will look for the suppliers who provide this material to us and what is the prices. Okay, so based on that they will select the particular vendor, and once they select the vendor they have the negotiations either with the agreements or contracts or scheduling agreements. So there is a different kinds of agreements with the suppliers, and based on that they will raise a order, so which is called as a purchase order to the vendor, which is a legal document, and which we are going to send to the suppliers. Okay, so the sending the information, there is a different ways, like people will send EDI, IDOC, and some they will send the PO, I mean PDF formats as well, or some organization they just download the copy and they will send it to the supplier emails. So based on that, how the type of business and the complexity, based on their interest, they will go and do this kind of activities. So then they will try to monitor the order, like so based on the confirmation from the vendor. Once the vendor gives a confirmation that so and so date and time I'm going to supply this material, then what happen, vendor will send the material to our locations, which is called it as a plant. Okay, so once the material is received at plant, so they will do the quality checks over here, and once it is done they will move to the different locations, which in within the plant they want to store the materials based on the characteristics of the material. Some materials can be hazardous, some can be like a lightweight, and some can be like a heavy, and some can be like a fragile. Okay, so based on that the inventory team will segregate the proper locations where they can keep the material which will be safe and can be used further their production process. Okay, so then the invoice verification is done, the payments will be happen. This is like how the entire cycles can be happen in the system. Okay, so here like if you understand this process, like we seen here the different components and organization elements. Okay, so one is the inventory location, where you can keep the materials, which is called it as a storage locations. Okay, and second one is the plant where you do the manufacturing production planning and your storage location basically within inside the plant. Okay, so so that is one more organization element called as a plant here. And here when you are going check the vendor selections and price negotiations can be done by group of people or single person, which is called it as a purchase organization. So the basically the main role of these guys is always negotiate the vendor and get the quality of material with a low price and good terms and agreements with the supplier. Okay, so that is a organization which is called as a purchase organizations. Okay, and this entire setup can be handled like when you are doing the payments to other person and you receive these payments from the different person, the financial entities can be handled in the form of company and company code. So these are the highest hierarchical structure in the enterprise structure or organization structure, and which plays a major role in the financial entities. Like they told like the highest level organization elements will say whether your business is in profits or loss, and how you want to see your profits and losses with respect to of the business vertical or entire the geographical way, or you want to see the currency wise, and how you want to look at. So based on that, the organization element company code can be decided. Okay, so that is one of the organization elements which is called as a company code. And one of the higher hierarchy about the company code is which is called as a company, which is a legal entity, which will share about the uh, industry where you do the kind of process and all those things. Okay, so that is generally we'll call it as a organization structure. And organization structure or enterprise structure we will call it over here. So basically we have the company which is the highest hierarchy level, and under this we have the two things like company code. And so this company code you can define in the form of like a kind of business vertical or geographical or currency wise. So how you want to see your financial statements or ledger accounts. So based on that, people can be define the company codes here. Okay, so next one is a plant where your physical entities are already available, and they already discussed handles about your operations, production planning, and inventory stock keeping units, and how you best handle your like finished goods and raw materials and hazardous materials. So how you store your the particular materials in the locations that deals about the storage location. Okay, then the purchase organizations plays important role, like having the negotiations and having the relation between purchase organization to plant, purchase organization to company code. So that plays like how you can do the negotiations with your suppliers. Okay, so this is about how your organization structure is there. And then we got to know like how the different organization enterprise elements we use to in the SAP system. So do you have any doubts so far?
So the company that is at the client level, so that is just the legal entity like the FIN code. And then the company code is the actual where you have the details based on, say, if it is by location or by however they choose to have the vertical, right? So the company client is just the legal setup.
Correct.
Thanks.
uh I think Gautam, you have any
You can have
concern or anything? Yeah,
you can have same company code for two geographical locations. I don't think so, right? Like you will.
yeah, you can define multiple company codes with the same location also.
No, no, no. I mean to say, so Apple Canada and Apple India or Apple US, right? So can they have the same
Yeah,
company code for all the three locations?
that's again like see why we define the company codes, like you want to see your profits and losses, and you want to save the
Accounting,
taxes
right?
for the organizations,
Yeah,
right?
what level the accounting happens like that, right? So
Yeah.
so obviously, so for based on each country or location, so the accounting rules
Mhm.
and the guidelines and the everything changes, right?
Different.
So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so in that case, is it possible to have the same company code for multiple locations?
Yes, you can do it.
Multiple locations.
Yeah. So, but finance team need to align and your legal team need to accept that one. As I know, like they won't agree because like you have like a geographical rules and regulations and legal terms will coming to the picture. But in the SAP, single in the single company you can assign multiple company codes, or you can put like a single company code, and you can put multiple plans, and where you can see the currency conversions in the backend.
Okay. So and each plant we can have a different currency and everything. What?
No, no, no.
How?
Plant level, we don't maintain currency. Currency will be always there at company code level. Uh, so in the back end, they will have the conversions.
No, I mean to say
So
like if you have the same company code for two locations like US and India like that. So, but you will
mm,
have plants, few plants in US, few plants in Canada, India, right? So the
correct.
currency way they operate, right? The US
Currency
plant
is different.
operate in dollar and there they operate in INR and also the accounting and everything will bit different. So they do everything at the plant level, and they just like convert and combine it at the company code level.
But how your financial statement you will show, you need to pay some taxes to the US government, right? And if you set up in India, you need to pay the some
Yeah,
taxes to
yeah.
Indian government. And
So
you
that's
do
why
anything, you
like
need to pay
it's
the
not practical
customs.
to have. Yeah, that's why I was thinking like, is it really practical to have same company code for two locations?
No, basically not. But if you want to do system, I mean system wise, so what they will do, they will create some dummy company code. Okay, and
Okay.
in the back end, like in the front end, we'll say only one company code, but in the back end, we'll maintain the two company codes and the currency conversions, like we'll do in the back end. So one can
Oh,
act as a virtual, but another can be do that. But it's too risky because anyhow nowadays all the organizations is going for auditing, right? So and the legal things coming to the picture, and even any organizations they don't want to see as a one company code entire the world on the same, because they won't save the taxes. For example, if Apple want to put a manufacturing unit in India, and Indian government try to give the full-fledged relaxations, okay, but if Apple say I want to make it the registration not happen, right? So basically,
yeah.
and if you want to put that US Federation, then the Indian government say like we will do some custom, I mean import taxes on the setup, then which is like more costly than what they earn here.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But in company level, you want to see the entire your, even though if you have the multiple company codes, and you can see like everything can be like you have different company codes that you can assign to single company, and these highest hierarchy level you can see single currency level, even though if it is like a INR and USD, if you want to everything see in the euros, you can see it.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is about the organization structure. Okay, and now we see there is a different kinds of data are available in the system. One is a configuration master, configuration data. Second one is a material master, and another one is a transaction data. Okay, so basically the configuration structure or data, so whatever we are going to discuss about, like how we do the set up the skeleton of any organizations. Apart from that, we'll do some kind of slightly setuping the organization elements or business process, so that will come under the configurations. So basically organization structure, and some of the document types and number ranges, and some pricing skeletons, and approval mechanisms, that will come under the configurations in the system. Okay, and the next one is master data. So we have the different master data, like we have material master, vendor master, and info record, and source list, okay, and quota arrangement. Okay, so what is mean by material master? So basically, whenever you want to manufacturing any product, whenever you want to make it see as a finished product, you have the different materials, right? So you can see the raw material, semi-finished, packaging, labeling, and there is around 40 different places, types of the materials available in the system. And so how the setup is done, how the different materials having the different number ranges, and how you need to maintain, how you need to link this to your purchasing unit, how the currencies you need to maintain, and where the GLs need to hit. Okay, so this material can be available in the multiple plants and multiple storage locations. How you can see the data in the material master, so that like basically we'll see in and out structure of how the material look like, and what is a um, descriptions, and unit of measures, and dimensions about the material, and the value of the material, and where the different departments this material can be used. So that way we will understand and segregate the system based on the material master. So the next topic is call it as a vendor master. Okay, so vendor is basically the person or supplier who can supply or provide a service in kind of like both, like even the vendor supplier can be happen available in the domestic or international. So basically, if you are doing the domestic business where your procurements happen within the country, then we'll call it as a domestic, where you have the currency differentiation and the tax differentiation will be there. And if you do some imports, and there is again the different concept of how you do the imports. Okay, so the difference basically the price will be same or slightly different, but in the domestic you don't pay the import taxes, but in kind of imports you need to do the import duties and taxes in the whenever you import anything from the different vendor. Okay, so here again, what special we see here, like a vendor currency and the terms and agreements with the vendors and the payment terms, and who is a like salesperson, and how what are the different processes he is going to support us in kind of our procurement. So that details we are going to incorporate in our SAP vendor master. Okay, and the next concept is like info record. So info record is a place like you able to see the different same material, different vendors and different prices, like how you need to capture in the system. So that details we are going to check in the info record, and these info records again divided into four types. Okay, so that there is a four types of info record, like you have the standard info record, consignment, and subcontracting info record, and a pipeline info record is there. So these are like everyone is common, like we are going to maintain the latest prices of the particular material and vendor combination. The difference is where you are using, or what price you are using. Okay, so that's only the difference, like in the process wise, but overall, if you see that info record is basically you need to help for the procurement guys to get the latest prices of the particular material and vendor combination. Okay, so here like some process, like in the sub consignment. Okay, what we'll do in the consignment is in the factories or in the organizations, we'll ask supplier to maintain or keep some inventory in our locations, and whenever we required we'll consume it and we'll inform same to the supplier. Then supplier will give the invoice based on our consumption, then we'll going to the pay the amount to them. So in that process, basically we will use the consignment over here. And in case of like subcontracting, in the subcontracting, it's process like where you provide your materials, or you provide your skill to the supplier, and just he need to process it. For the processing, what you'll do, you provide like a raw material, semi-finished, all the materials you will do. He need to do the some assembling and labeling he will do, and he will give it to you as a finished product. So that kind of processes basically we will go for the subcontracting scenarios. And some of the scenarios, like where you see the material can be procured in the form of like a pipeline, where it is electricity or water or gas. So water it may be, any procurements happens in form of pipeline, where you consume it, and you need to record the how much you do the consumptions, and you need to pay that. Okay, so in that process, basically we use the pipeline process. Okay, and the last one is the source list. Okay, the source list basically which will give the details or idea about a single material can be procured from how many source of suppliers are available right now, and any like agreements are exist between the suppliers, or any like disengagements will be happen. So that kind of entire the list can be given by the source list in the system. Okay, so basically the source list is a source of supply of a particular material who provide this material to us. Okay, so the next one is a quota. Quota is like, for example, in the organizations, for example, they want to procure some of the raw material. Okay, for example, I need 100 quantity. but I never do 100 quantity in single source of supply. So why I need to do is, so there is a different factors again the procurement follows over there. So based on the price, based on the nature of the vendor, and based on the different terms and agreements. So what they will do, for example, I need 100 kgs. I don't do directly with the supplier here, and what I'll do basically, I need 100, but what I'll do, I'll keep the around 50% of quantity from A vendor, and remaining 30 I'll give to the B vendor, and remaining 20 I'll give to the C vendor. So that the way of a segregations of the material can be happens. Okay. So how we do the segregation? So that process we'll call it as a quota arrangement. So these are the different kinds of the masters available. Apart from that, we have also service masters. Okay, where you can create a service also in kind of master, that we'll call it as a service master. Okay, so you guys having any doubts about this master?
I have one question.
Hmm.
When you talked about the vendor master, you said that um, a supplier will help in different processes. Can you expand on that? Like what processes they're going to help with?
Sorry, can you come again?
So when you were talking about the vendor master, you
Hmm.
mentioned that this is the vendor will help in different processes um, to us. Basically, we are the purchaser, right? So can you
Hmm.
expand on what processes are they going to help us with?
Okay, so vendor like basically provide the service, okay, not the process. So process also, like for example, I am the like one of the. It can be vice versa. Like one thing is he need to provide the materials. Okay, if it is like your business vertical is chemical industry. So basically, if you what you'll do, he will you ask some X component to him, and what he'll say. So to give you X component, I need to refine that one, and I need to make it some the safety measures. Then only I can make it over here. So that we are not capturing in our SAP system, because it is our not in our system. It is an external system. Okay,
Okay.
so that process he'll do, and he will give it to us as a finished product. Okay, so we only the concentrate about the finished product, what we asked and what we get. Okay, so this is one kind of material procurement how you need to do in the from the vendor. So it can be material procurement, then basically we'll segregate. And second one is service. Okay, service, if you call about in organizations, basically we have like a cleaning service, or a maintenance service, and all there is a different service. Okay, so to provide the service, and we will share some rules and regulations. So how he need to maintain, and he need to meet my requirements. Okay, so for example, I want some service from the X uh, organization for my safety and security. Okay, so for that, I will say some terms and agreements. So and so person should be there, and you need to be there 24 by 7, and you need to be well mannered. Okay, and he
Hmm.
able to be always kind. Okay, and there is a different trainings he need to attend. Then he need to qualify all our terms and agreements, then only we will do. Okay, so in these cases, what we'll do, we will give some kind of contract, and he need to pass each and everything. Then we'll give a like 1 or 2 months. Okay, so that process we'll handling in our contract measures. Okay, then once he pass it, then we'll give a order to him. Until and unless we won't give a order.
And this would, I think, mostly apply to non-PO services, right? I
Non-PO,
mean, these.
yes, yeah.
Thank you.
So both kind of, like you can get it in material procurement and service procurement, the basic header level if you talk about.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so this is about a kind of a master data. So the next one is the transaction data. So this is like more talks about your operationals. Okay, so till now, like we see the systematic, like a configuration in the system and how you need to curate the master setup in the system. But when the transaction data, which will plays a major role in your organizations, the operation part. So these, to do these operations, you need to maintain like the first two topics, like organization configuration and setup, and the second one is the master data setup. If both are there, then you are good to do your transactions. And these transactions can be, there is a different levels. Okay, so one is called it as a purchase requisitions. Basically it is a internal request from one department to another department. Okay, so based on that, the purchasing guys will pick that kind of request and they will work on that one. Okay, so here the next process is called as a request for quotations, quotation maintenance, and quotation comparison. Okay, so quotation request for quotations, quotation maintenance, and comparison, basically so and so material you required. Okay, so basically what they will do, in normal businesses, they will ask for the quotations. Okay, so they will ask the different quotations and they maintain the quotations and they will select the proper supplier. Okay, then they will confirm you are selected for our initial screening process and you are good to supply this material. Okay, so that confirmation they will give. So that how the operations will be happen, the request for quotations, maintenance, and comparisons we'll see later. Next one is the next process, like once your supplier is selected, and they will we will give issue a legal document for the shorter procurements. Okay, shorter procurements, like it's called about so I need only 10 kgs or 100 kgs or 1 ton. So based on that, we will go for the shorter procurements, we'll go for the purchase orders. Okay, and if you want to maintain the vendor like a good relationship, and you want to long run with him, and what they will do, they will go for the outline agreements, which again the differentiate into two parts. One is a contract, another one is a scheduling agreements. So basically contract is a long term agreement for the between the supplier and a plant or organization with respect to of the price. Okay, so which is like a here contract can be happen value contracts and quantity contracts here. So based on the value contracts means I'll give like a so and so person around, so he need to supply around 200 tons of so and so material. So that is kind of a quantity contract. So here basically we'll talk about the how much of material we need to procure from this one. Okay, the best example, crude oil. Okay, so how we'll say, like we require like 200 barrels and 300 barrels of procurement, we'll say, but we won't say like per barrel is some $1,000 and $2,000. We always count the terminology we require. Like we'll say today I need 200 barrels and tomorrow my forecast will be $250 and third day I need $150. Okay, so that is kind of a quantity requirement or quantity contract here. And second thing is value contract. So here you always talk about the value. So I have budget of like 1 crore rupees. Until this 1 crore rupees, how much of material you can supply to me? You supply it. Okay. So that kind of procurement, we'll call it as a value contracts here. Okay. And scheduling agreements also, which similar to the contracts, but the slight here is there is a legal like penalties in the scheduling agreements, so which are like a morely legal understanding of penalties. Okay, so basically these scheduling agreements, why the organizations is follow, not all the organizations, and basically what are the organizations they want to look at for their inventory. They don't want to keep their inventory because they want to minimize their inventory, and they want to run their production process. That kind of things people will go for the scheduling agreements. Okay, so basically there is a legal agreement and the penalties with the both the parties. Okay, for example, if my vendor need to supply this material so and so date and time, if he fails to supply that material on time, then he need to pay the penalty. Even though he come to my factory and is sitting standing in front of my factory for last 5 hours, and my like acceptance criteria is only 1 hour, but it is crossed and it is waiting for me for 5 more hours, then I need to pay the penalty of a truck outside, truck standing, and the labor cost and all those things, I need to pay the penalty. Okay, so that kind of tight legal penalties are available in the scheduling agreements. So the next concept is called as a service entry sheets or a service procurement, where like how you see the service level procurements. So how the entry sheets will be available, so that we basically understand. So these are the about like how the transaction data plays a role operations in the any organizations. Okay, you got idea about this?
Yeah. So this is the complete list of transactions that possible in the MM module, or like this is only high level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is about the cycle. So where you see the most of the operations like request creations, quotations creation, order creation, inventory, a goods receipt, and invoice verification. Okay. So till now, what we see until here, like we understand only the sourcing part. Okay. So basically, material management is divided into two parts. One is the sourcing, and another one is the inventory. So till now, like we seen about the sourcing concepts here. Okay. And okay. So now there is one more mechanism, call it as a approval system or release strategy, we'll call it. So what is mean by release strategy or approval system? Okay, so whenever you want to give the legal document to the outside and it is like linked to the financial statements, okay, it should not go whoever the person is raised, and you should not blindly publish it to the suppliers, because it is most about the legal document, and the financial or our legal team need to be checked thoroughly before like publishing these orders to the suppliers. Okay, so this is a process where like approval mechanisms are inbuilt in the system and how it will be goes, and there is a different level of filtering and sending the orders to the different kind of the persons in the system. Once everyone is approved, then only the order will be published to the outside, and if someone is not accepted or is he rejected, then it won't go to the outside. So that process we'll call it as a release strategy. Okay, the next one is the concept called as a pricing. So pricing is a like one of the key player in the entire like MM. So how your calculations is happen. You decide like whenever you want to procure this material from so and so vendor, you have the basic idea of the what is the net price and what are the different calculations can be happen, like your traveling charges and taxation and all those things. How best you do your homework on the particular material when you procure this one. So that entire can be um, calculation, the condition technique we using here, it is called as a pricing procedure. This pricing procedure we have the two types. One is a domestic pricing procedure and another one is a imports. So basically in the domestic you always talk about like a domestic procurements and domestic taxes and domestic conditions like other different charges. In case of import, you talk about like how you need to do the custom duties, custom taxes, how you need to calculate that one. That structure can be available in the system. Okay, this is about how the pricing technique can be calculated over here. Okay, then so this is about the sourcing, and we have one more subtopic which is called as a inventory management. Okay, so till now, like we seen like how to procure, how to negotiate your suppliers, and how best you need to give the contracts, and how the approval mechanisms is there. Okay, how the calculations can be happen. This is a off part. Okay, so once you give an order, then vendor is ready to supply this material. Okay, so then the managing of equipment in your locations. Okay, so basically that can be handled in the inventory management. Okay, so these inventory management handles in the different varieties. Like you can do the goods receipt, which is called as you need to take the material inside, and sometimes if it is a damaged, how you need to reissue to the supplier, and sometimes the material will be like not usable or not able to send, and you want to go ahead for the scrapping, how you need to do the scrapping. So these are different kinds of the techniques we are going to handle in our inventory management here. Okay. Yeah. So apart from this, we have the special procurements. So there is a special procurement. So one topic we already discussed, right? They called it as a subcontracting process, consignment process, okay, and third party process, and pipeline process, okay. And the next one is stock transport orders. So there is a special procurements. So these are the special procurements how we need to handle here. And there is one more special procurement called as a RTP, returnable transport packaging. So these are the some kind of some special procurements, like where depends on the business and how we will do this one. So we already discussed about subcontracting, consignment, and third party. So third party also kind of a process, like when we get the sale orders, and when we want to sell some product to the customer, okay, but the product is not available with us. So what we'll do, we will raise our internal request to our purchasing guys, and this material you need to procure immediately, and I want to sell this one. So that kind of a brokeraging can be happen. So that process we'll call it as a third party process. Okay, even though you're not original manufacturer, you just marketing that one, and you pick from the order from the original manufacturer, and you will sell on behalf of original manufacturer to some other customer, and you earn the um, trading profits. Okay, so that kind of process we'll call it as a third party process. And pipeline we already discussed, and the next topic is call it as a stock transport orders. So if you have like one plant in like two different locations, okay, one is California, another one is New York, and you want to send your one of material. So both are your entities and your plants, and one of the material is required immediately into New York from the California, and you will ship this material from uh, California to New York or New York to California. So how you do the stock transfer from one location to another location within the organization, within the company. Okay, so that process we'll call it as a stock transport orders. Okay, so next one is returnable transport packaging, kind of like whenever you procure some containers, and you consume the containers, whatever the material inside the container, and you will return the empty containers or empty containers, which we'll call it as a returnable transport packaging elements. So where you consume the material inside the container or bottle, and you return the bottle to him, and you pay the amount inside the uh, container or bottle, not the bottle or container. Okay, so that kind of process we'll call it as a special procurements. Okay, and once that is done, then we have a process call it as a logistic invoice verification. So which is basically MM and FI integration. Okay, so where you see the how you need to post invoices, but basically uh, invoices can be posted by your finance guys, but as a procurement guys, you need to know the how the invoice posting is happening, because end of the day you are the person who sits in the front desk, and you will communicate with your suppliers, because they won't ask finance team, they will ask a procurement guys, because these guys every day discussions with their suppliers. Okay, so here in the logistic invoice verification, like we'll see how the posting can be happen, and how your automatic the GLs, automatic the GL triggering is happening in the system, the how your finance GLs will be hit with respect of your process. so that entire things can be handled in the automatic accounting determination process. Again, we'll see some subsequent debit and credit. Okay, so these are the kind of like mmfi integrations that topics we are going to cover over here, and this is like one of the topics we are going to cover in our training session, and some kind of like a project explanation, project methodology. We talk about how we'll do the project implementations, and we have the SAP methodology, and now where people will are using agile methodology, and now scrum based implementations also be part of like SAP implementations. Okay, so we'll going to cover these kind of topics in our training sessions, and if you have any doubts, and feel free to ask. Hello.
So, Rakesh, like, so from the next class, you are going to go over each topic in
Yeah.
deeper. So,
Yes, yes.
okay. And, okay,
So
so
this
I
is
have
like our a
questions
basic
like,
session. Yeah,
yeah,
so next session onwards, like we will see how the system, um, we will understand one requirement, and based on that, how we need to map that same requirement to the SAP system. So here we can be act as like business as well as a SAP consultant, and in the SAP, like as a consultant, people need to understand the requirements. I need to work on the system, and he need to test, and he need to act as an end user and a tester, and as well as a consultant and a developer. So this kind of three roles, how we need to incorporate that, we'll discuss in our sessions.
You be discussing any functional requirement documents? Would you have examples of that that we can go through?
Yeah.
Because I'm basically interested in seeing how the requirements are drafted for MM.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, that's really what I'd like to focus some on.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
well,
Yeah, any.
one more thing I
Yeah.
want to is like, so like the MM module will be integrating definitely with the current module. Like there will be an integration with maybe a sales and distribution, and then it sorry. So it might be integrating with the finance teams, or it might be with the logistics or any other module. So you will be talking about like the in the real time or the day to day. So like what kind of interactions happen with the other module people are like that, right? And also if there is any
Yes,
one
yes.
kind of operations is not there. So how do you will write for the customizations? I think the customization are done by other sides. So how you will be coordinating the customizations? How you will be, like managing that? So all this. So basically, I'm looking for more real-time kind of like a experience here than like so the more theoretical or kind of like a classroom model kind of like instead of that. So I'm looking like so more practical oriented training.
Yeah, so we follow that same technical and practical approach only, not like theory. So theory will be there like until you understand the situations, but most of the thing are cover only the practical sessions.
Okay.
Um, will you also be touching on the closing processes, like the month end and quarter end or year end, how MM, when it integrates with the finance or the receipts, how they interact? Would you be touching on that also?
Yeah, that will cover under the project, like the month and year end activities. Yeah. If you don't have any questions, like we are good to close.
Okay.
So we're
Thanks.
good.
Thank you for your
You have
time.
any other questions, Anjali and Gautam?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you for your time.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah. So I'll connect with you guys to further. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.